What's up, family? This is Mike, Super Mike, doing this video. We want to get into a little bit about what's going on with the problem of Black America. We got a problem that we're dealing with, and that problem should be felt by most of Black America, even if you haven't paid attention to. If you're not somebody who likes to pay attention to news and all that kind of stuff, uh, actually you're part of the problem, but all of us are part of the problem because we pick and choose what we want to pay attention to because we don't want to be overwhelmed with stuff that we feel like we can't handle, we can't deal with. So, you know, we're talking about, we had this big Botham John situation here. Amber Geiger, which is the murderous cop from Dallas police gang force. Um, she felt like the dude was too loud upstairs, and she had made several noise complaints on him. So she decides to go up there, kill him, and create some kind of a lie, talking about she made a mistake and went into that apartment, and everybody ran with her lie. But for the most part, we can see that she went up there on purpose because of the noise, and she snapped because white women do snap like that. They go crazy, and then they'll snap. So, plus she was racist anyway. She had a lot of racist texts, plus her little affair that she was having with the guy, the police officer. He had murdered a black guy before, so she had knew he got away with murder in her mind, so she felt like she could get away with murder too. So anyway, these are the type of things that Black America is dealing with. We got Laquan McDonald, Mike Brown, and after the Amber Geiger fiasco, then Josh Brown was murdered. And we know that the Dallas police or their gang affiliate had something to do with that because it looks like they tried to murder him last year before her trial and didn't at this club called I think Ecstasy or something, Club Ecstasy. He got away, they shot him in his foot, and now that he testified she went to jail, they got mad, they murdered him this time. Uh, and so then after that, you got Fort Worth police. They killed, right on the heels of that, Fort Worth police kills a black woman because somebody who is obviously not uh, a, 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 a listener of the situation of Black America, they, they feel safe calling the police. A black neighbor feels safe calling the police for a non-emergency, and they actually thought that was the right thing to do in this because they're not aware of the situation that we're in. They're not aware of the problem. There's millions of black people out here that's not aware of the problem. There's only a few of us. And there'd be maybe millions, but out of 40 million people, let's take half of them as kids. I don't know. Let's just say 20 million adult people. If 1 or 2 million of us are aware of the situation that we're in, that's not enough. So we got a lot of work to do to get people aware of what we're dealing with here. We are in extreme danger, all of us. And they have a lot of, we eat some of the worst foods on the planet. And these foods are being poisoned, just like you poison a roach, you poison a rat. They're dropping McDonald's in our neighborhood, just like little rat traps, poisons to kill us. It's just so deep. The level of death that's out here for us. So we want to deal with a solution here, but we want to make sure that we there's a lot of programs that'll give you some history, but the point is we've tried integration, and that's true. We have tried integration. We've tried, and some people think we've tried separation, but we really haven't, because we've tried segregation. We were forced separate. and we were still under the control of the enemy. And so, I mean, we didn't know we had it a little better than we have it now, as far as financially, as far as land owning, as far as independence, but we didn't know we had it better. And so we thought that integration would be the best solution because we thought that these people would eventually learn to love us. But uh, just like any other nation on the planet, we starting to see that separation is the best method because it's just like the Declaration of Independence. When it's time, you got two different groups of people. They are vastly different. We've been different. We've never been the same. Even though we've been here longer than all these white Americans, no matter whether they're German, Irish, Italians or Jews, Black America has been here before them. Yet we still act different. We different peoples, okay? We have a different spirit. We have a different sense of right and wrong. So we need to be separate. We are a separate nation, okay? We need to formalize it. So I'm going to play a couple things. So this is what I want you to look at. This is what we experience under the care, under the control of an enemy government. So I'm going to play this here. And this is a C-SPAN talking about the political assassination of Malcolm X, but this guy is...
thought. So people think about the impact on privacy of pervasive surveillance. And just to contextualize how bad is the surveillance that the NSA is conducting, for people born since 2002, everything they have ever said, heard, read, or written that was not in person or in a physical book has been archived and monitored, archived by the United States government. Everything they have ever heard or read or said or written. That's an incredibly disturbing prospect when you think about how that compendium of data could be used if politicized. Why might we fear its potential politicization? Because government intelligence has always been politicized, as you can see from my colleague's remarks, right? We're not doing this from a neutral baseline. The tools that the intelligence agencies had available to them in the COINTELPRO era are dwarfed by those available today. Never in human history has a society been more monitored by its government than we today in the United States, with the possible exception of contemporary China. In East Germany, the Soviet Union had nothing on the CIA and the NSA and the FBI and CBP and the local police departments and the NCTC and the alphabet soup, the litany of duplicative, wasteful, I dare say fraudulent, corrupt government institutions that are engaged in the enterprise of monitoring you in the exercise of your supposedly free speech. So let's talk a little bit about COINTELPRO after the Church Committee. In the 1980s, CISPAS, the Coalition in Solidarity with the People of El Salvador, this was mostly faith-based U.S. network supporting Latin American human rights, was its infiltration by the FBI in the 1980s has been well documented. In the 1990s, the radical environmental movement, the animal rights movement, were viciously not only infiltrated. There was a reference, I believe, in John's remarks to Judy Berry, who was an environmental activist who was bombed by the FBI that then tried to blame it on her before being ordered to pay $4.3 million in damages by a federal judge. And that was in the 90s, well before 9/11. The next time somebody tries to tell you a narrative that the crackdown on civil liberty started after the 9/11 attacks, don't buy it. It started well before that, and one of the first targets in your lifetimes was the environmental movement. And we can say, for instance, what were the impacts on the rights of Black Americans by the attacks on the Black nationalist movement and the movement for Black power? Right? You can see downstream impacts in the settings of those movements. The same is true with respect to the environmental movement, right? Climate change is at the center of the public discussion now. It was being forced onto the public agenda 20 years ago by a set of people who are now either in jail or on the international lam. How different would our public policy be if speech were actually free instead of criminalized? Since 9/11, certainly Muslims have been in the crosshairs. Peace and justice activists not far from here in Maryland, state police were caught spying on activists who were on both sides of the death penalty, both sides of reproductive rights. And the point I want to draw out here is that government surveillance is an equal opportunity abuse. You don't necessarily have to have a particular political perspective. You just have to have a political perspective. If you have any political perspective that is outside the dominant institutions, you are a target for government surveillance, disruption, and what the FBI called in its campaign to neutralize, I just gave it away, neutralization. That was the word that the FBI used when targeting civil rights and other leaders.
So basically right there, you see, they're changing, they're using calculations to change. They're changing, they are directing society. So your democracy is taught to you as rule of the people, okay? And the people are speaking up. But there are elements in the government because they have the tools to govern society. They are hiding information from you, and they are changing the direction of your society their way. Okay? I mean, some of us don't get that. And these people plan 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years ahead. Okay? So if I take out your leadership, whether that is your civil rights leadership, whether that's your environmental activists, everybody's concerned about climate change right now. So we see, if we take out the climate activists, look at the danger that's putting your planet in. If you take out your civil rights activists, these are the voices that are bringing civilization to the society. These are the voices that's bringing balance to the society. Okay, so your situation, so this American situation has been out of balance. Okay, and there's nobody strong enough to, to force those balances. So what's going to end up happening is that the weight of nature comes down and crashes your whole society, which means a lot of death, a lot of destruction, a lot of tsunamis and hurricanes and wars, because the people who are tasked with stopping these type of things, who see these things, who are willing to fight these things, they're not given the support by the people. And it's also due to drugs and all that. So this is what we're living in right now. Let's look at what Elijah Muhammad had to say about that. So he's talking about the problem.
It is not anything strange to see me here before you teaching what I'm teaching any more than it was in the day of Noah and Moses. We have a problem before us that must be solved. We have before us again many false accusations that we must bear with. We can't destroy them, we must bear with them. As God, Noah and Moses did, we bear with them until God himself takes his place to put an end to it. We cannot stop people from hating. We cannot stop people from disputing with us. We are called haters ourselves. But I say, that is all in it too.
And remember, everything that I show here is fair use, copyright disclaimer, section of 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Copyright disclaimer under section 106 allows fair use purposes. So everything is fair use here. So what our messenger, that's when I say ours, this is America. I don't care if you think he's anything or not. That guy has a solution. He's a very smart man, very wise man. Okay? And if you think because of what you've heard of propaganda, and some moral things that you might want to try to moralize over. You think that that man is not smart. That that's a big mistake. So what he's saying is, when you're in a situation when you got a problem with some people who's bigger than you, they're stronger than you can't stop them. You don't have the power to remove them physically. Okay, you have to bear with them, and you have to wait until God, which is the situation, which is the forces of nature, which includes, all human interaction, that includes elderly, that includes trends. You have to wait until God creates an opportunity for you or to grow, because you have this oppressive power on you. So while you're in that situation, we have to identify that problem. We have to make sure everyone understands that problem. And, he has several more solutions on that. But I just wanted to make that known, because this man in 1962 identified, even before that, identified correctly the problem that now millions of us are seeing. Even though we wanted to call this man crazy, you know, scandal here, scandal there, discrediting people. The truth doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, even if the truth teller is not what you expect. But if that truth that came from that person's mouth is not followed, then a result is going to occur. And that's what we're dealing with, because we did not listen. If you don't listen to the truth, then you're going to have a problem. Just like anything. You don't listen, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have to deal with the problem. And that's what we're dealing with. But we still, as Black America, we have some time to get ourselves in order, if you understand what needs to be done. And so I'm going to get this, I'm going to listen to this, this other. So right now, this is what we're dealing with a little bit. This is Vicky Dillard with Fly Nubian Queen, and she's pretty loud, but she's making some straight points. She's very passionate.
For numerous police officers involved in racist social media posts and all kinds of other malfeasance and illegality, alleged and really correctly alleged, I should say, illegality and criminality. They want us to ignore that. They want us to ignore the Amber Geiger lie early on. They want us to ignore the police officers that was responsible for the lies to try to cover her up. Provable lies. Ongoing investigations of other officers that were involved in it. They want us to ignore that and just take their word for it, while they try to make all of our men drug dealers, and in order to paint them to say, hey, they were worthy of death. We need to call them out at the same time. And I'm calling on the Lee Merritts of the world, and I'm saying it very clearly, because I noticed that you ignored the grassroots Black voices. You show contempt, some of you, not just him. I'm not trying to dog out our brother, but some of you show contempt for our kinds of voices, notwithstanding our reach. You may not like the fact of those who we reach and who we are, but how dare you give voice to only those Black folk that you consider to be the quote-unquote safe voices. And those bushes. It's important that you be in code and that you're in alignment with Black media right now, because Black media is a part of the war. We're a part of the telling of the story. We're a part of shining the light to make sure justice is done, and that we mobilize our own troops, and that we start our own investigations as well. That's it for now, family. Talk Black to me.
Now I played that to tell you this. Now I played that to say, see, that is part of that, COINTEL government, boule, this. Okay, so when the most intense voices to change a situation, to change a problem, those are the voices that need to be empowered. Okay, but when you see the divergence from power, we don't want to get radical here. Those type of those people who don't make the decision to empower the strongest voices to right a wrong. You're not serious, and what you're doing is you're actually destroying you're creating a situation where you're creating more danger. So when you see that, black folks, we're in some serious danger. So there's nothing we're going to be able to do to stop more death, okay? But we can, those who understand the situation will be able to protect themselves a little more, okay? As we, work together to try to build community. But bottom line is, we're in this crap. We're in this crap. And so here's another. Now I want to read the solution Elijah Muhammad put out. And he told us straight up. And this is from his book. This book we should all have. Black folks in America, we should all have this book, because this is so many solutions that are here. I mean, financial, everything. This is a reference guide, right? And this is the guide we need to be using to get our stuff done. But he says something very important here. He says, shoot, I might get the wrong one. We got to have a house of our own. He said, a house of our own. A house of our own. We cannot be successful in the house of our enemies. We should be in our own house. That which is other than our own is for those who are other than our own. Our own is unlimited physically and spiritually. There are those who think that our lack of freedom, justice, and equality can be solved in the white man's crooked and corrupt politics. But these so-called leaders who think this political strategy will solve our problems are as far wrong as the distance from the east to the west. This man wrote this in the 60s. Before that, he'd been teaching it. This is 40. This is about 60 years later. Politics, white man's politics can't solve our problem. We have to build our institutions. That's the only way you're going to solve this. And you, just like Tyler Perry got the movie studio, we got a burgeoning black media going on. We have to develop investigation outlets, community protection services, just like what Minister Farrakhan called for, the 10,000 fearless. I mean, these are things that we got 40 million people. We can do this. Okay, we're bigger than many nations on the planet, and we got more money than many nations on the planet. We can gentrify places too. We can gentrify places. We don't have to go shooting up nobody. Gentrify the place. We down there, Tyler Perry down there in Atlanta and Georgia. We got full of black people in Alabama. We go down there, we move, we buy the land, okay? And then we go to taking over the politics and everything in that area. And we take over the police force, we take over all of that. And we run it. That's how we do it. This is a 10, 20, 30-year plan. Okay, and we bring all our people there. That's Black America. Okay, that's how we do this. I'll put another clip here just so. See, and I'm going to put this one here because they've been studying us. This is Patrick Moynihan. And many of y'all know the Moynihan report. Now, we do deserve, this is ADOS, for my ADOS people. We deserve reparations, but now let's just listen to what this dude says.
See what people can face with the civil rights movement in the way of sheriffs, in the way of howling mobs, in the way of the disapproval of their entire society. So I think, I would hope that I'm willing to face the disapproval of a few white liberals from Boston who think I shouldn't raise the subject because it's impolite. Mr. Novak. Mr. Moynihan, in your report you say, quote, equality of opportunity almost ensures inequality of results, unquote. Are you proposing preferential treatment on the hiring of Negroes? I believe this country owes the American Negro his back wages, yes.
Should the federal government support preferential treatment for Negroes then?
I believe what President Johnson said in his Howard University speech. You cannot keep a man in chains for 3 centuries and take the chains off and say suddenly, okay, you're free to run the race of life with anybody else. They have to be made, people have to be given the opportunity to compete with effective resources. And I believe that we should make a special effort.
That's right. So, you know, that's telling you right there. They know they owe you. They know they owe us. They owe us money. But what they've been saying for the last few decades is, what you gonna do about it? We're not giving it to you. So do you think you should give up? No. You don't give up. That's your solution. Your solution is to build power. You build power among yourself. Okay, you do for yourself. You build power among yourself. And what they did, we had power at that time when he said that. That was, I think, 1965. So they offered us integration, and we fell for that trick and destroyed our economic power. We turned over our economy to them. So now today they control our economy, but now we understand that we messed up and we need to reverse that. But it's not going to be segregation where they're in control. It's going to be separation, meaning we control every level. We own the land. Okay, first, we own the land. We own the businesses. We run the politics. Okay, this is an intentional separation with power. Okay, and we defend our power. We defend what's ours and threaten anybody who tries to take it away from us. And we can do that. We have the numbers and we have the money to do that. But we have to have the unified operation. We have to stop falling for these disinformation campaigns. Anything that gets you to want to fight people in public, that's against code. So, you know, people who do stuff like that, that's not smart. And we can't attack them in public, let them continue to be ignorant. But eventually they're going to start looking kind of suspect to us, because really disunity is not smart. So that is, that's pretty much it for this particular cast, and thanks. My gosh.